Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's see. Make sure that everything's on. Everything is working right. Okay, here we go. So, day 1697. Losing my voice just a little bit. But, it can't be helped, and we have to move on. We've got to go forward. Everything is at stake here. Our country is at stake. Our children are at stake. Our freedoms are at stake. Our economy is at stake. Everything's at stake here. Our military is at stake. This is so big. And so we, have to keep going, move on and move on. We're at day 1697. And, we have really done miraculous things, way back when. And now, everything that we have done over the last 4.5 years, just about 4.5 years. It's going to be 5 years in July, August, um, has just been miraculous. It's just, um, changed everything. And we are getting word in every day from El Paso. Remember, I was born at White Sands. We have long ties. I went to school. I went to school at Bassett. I went to school at MacArthur. I went to school on Fort Bliss. Um, I even, uh, you know, know William Beaumont very well. Um, the old William Beaumont, and went over to Juarez so many times I can't even count it. I even got, yeah. When they made the little glass figurines. It was a different time when I was little compared to when now that I went there. They have really suffered, and that's at stake too. The well-being of those that live in Juarez, is at stake. The children at stake, and in Chihuahua, and what are we hearing? 6, 7 death camps now with crematoriums, and I didn't even put that on the list to talk about. But this is, this is a horrible future if we don't keep going, if we don't keep uncovering this crime, who's behind this crime, documenting it, filing it, and standing up against this and demanding accountability. And so, Richard's case is a domino effect. Richard, and I know I'm his mother. I know I'm his mother, and I'm just so proud because he is such a hero, y'all. He's such a hero. Um, Very few mothers really get a real chance to have such a heroic son. And the more that we um, investigate, the more that we uncover, the more that we document, the more pieces we put together, the more we see what heroic son that Richard is, and that he needs to be honored for that. He absolutely needs to be honored, and what he put up with was incredible, and stood the test. Yes, they killed him. Yes, they did. But you know, um, if you have a Christian faith like we do, I believe that life goes on, and you are judged. You're judged, and let me tell you, Richard is in a very holy, beautiful place. And I think that his spirit haunts those that murdered him, absolutely comes down and haunts them until justice is done, until accountability is here. And there's just been too many signs, symbols from God that absolutely have showed us that He haunts them. Absolutely. So let's get into what we really need to talk about. And these are these. Sorry. I'm just losing my voice, just talking all the time. So, make sure. Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. I wanted to make sure that my Kleenex was nearby because this gets very emotional when I talk about Richard and uh, about these rogue judges, these judges that are up to no good. I don't even know if they're human, right? I don't even know if they're human because what are they protecting? Hundreds of thousands of children being trafficked and put into the hands of the worst to be victims of the worst type of crimes against children and have that filmed and everything and then end up mostly dead. They're all mostly dead. Is this what the judges are, you know, uh, protecting? This is the money that they want to grease their hands with. I don't know. I do not know. I'm just like, what is going on with these rogue judges? We know in the Walmart mass shooting case, um, both David Guadarrama, the federal judge in the case, and Sam Madrano, it really seems like it. All they cared about was greasing their hands. With enough money, they could be sold out. They are absolutely compromised. We know that they're compromised. There's no doubt that they're compromised because there's so much evidence. When you have robust amount of evidence showing that they're compromised. I mean, you have Judge Guadarrama's manager, his right hand man for the federal courthouse, his daughter married to Patrick Crusius, and he doesn't. He wants the money, right? He doesn't recuse himself. You have Sam Madrano, and they all know each other. They're all, when you start looking into it, they have all this history, and yeah, they're they all know each other. And, the whole Jaime Esparza, letting Jaime Esparza stay on the Walmart case for almost 2 years when he had such a conflict of interest because his sister was in the Walmart, right? Was in the Walmart during the time. I mean, he had to recuse himself too. And but they want the money, and they organize that very, very well with Patrick Crusius because Patrick Crusius 000 on his application for counsel, right? To have appointed counsel, 000. Like he doesn't have a dime in his pocket, but he can go and buy these weapons and travel and do all these things. But yet he doesn't have a dime to his name, not a penny to his name, nothing. But they approved it, right? They approved uh, this funding for appointed counsel for millions and millions of dollars, and that was what Joe Spencer, right? Joe Spencer, and it is just so obvious when you see through everything. And now you have President Trump addressing these criminal groups, these groups that are the big T, that really wreak havoc on a country, on the economy, on when you have all of this money laundering and all this illicit money that you don't pay any taxes on, and it just goes through the system, and then people get compromised with that kind of money because they want to do business, they want to sell cars, and they want to you know, um, they want to work, right? They want to work, and they get compromised. And so this big T kind of crime is so bad. And we have these rogue judges these misbehaving judges, right? They're misbehaving judges. They are absolutely in misconduct, right? In bad conduct. I guess that is the legal term I'm looking for, is bad conduct. They're misbehaving, bad conduct judges. And you know what's come up? Um, oh, and I'm trying to remember the name. Um, what's come up is that these judges cannot stay in their position if they're in bad conduct. If they're in bad conduct, they cannot stay in these positions. And it really um, is moving forward to impeach and just remove them. I guess you can just remove them when they're in bad conduct. And clearly, when they are defending the big T crimes, right? The big T crimes, and criminals up to no good, right? And very, very serious crimes, and trafficking and substances and weapons and ammunition and all of that. When they're involved in that kind of criminal activity and um, snatching positions in our own government, right? These criminals. And the judges are defending them, that, well, that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot, right? Who greased whose hand, right? Who greased whose hand and with how much? Um, so this is, very, very bad conduct. And we know that they do it through even their children and their spouses, very bad conduct. And so, yeah, I'm really hopeful in that they are going to solve this problem of these judges that are really that are not concerned about establishing the law, about establishing justice, about protecting our citizens and our people and our economy and really defending the Constitution, because that's their oath, is to defend the Constitution. So I'm very hopeful now that there are some very brainy, very smart people that are looking into the situation, and they know that our law, our beautiful Constitution, just like in Texas, the beautiful Texas Constitution. I have to say, it is a magnificent document, and it has been really, really helping us move forward. And of course, the Constitution, the United States Constitution, has really, really been helping us move forward. And so when you're lawful and you're wanting to go up against the lawless, it's very, very handy to know the law. And now with all the search engines and everything, you really get access to the law. And I think that they're coming up with some really good solutions on how to um, remove these rogue, lawless, I can say misbehaving, not in good conduct, right? If they're not in good conduct, they cannot have their position, no matter if it's supposed to be appointed for life or whatever. With this, they can't have it if they are in bad conduct. So I think that that is very, very important, which leads to Nidal Baem, who also is in bad conduct, right? And he's now Nidal Baem. I've said over and over and over again, he is the father-in-law of Bradford Bugado of the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM, which is Richard's command. But what we have, and this all needs to be really looked into, that needs to be investigated. But he has a record. He has a record for terroristic activity. He's a Palestinian. He's a Palestinian with a terroristic activity record. And he might have been found innocent or whatever, but That's not what that says, but anyway, they need to absolutely, the law enforcers, the investigators, they need to look into, because what we are uh, getting back is that what he did, they should have absolutely arrested him. They should have interrogated him, because with a minor terroristic activity record, or a full blown out one, with right after the Walmart mass shooting, because this was in October of 2020. They should have been, right on that when he walked into the Dollar General and said that he was FBI, and said that, yes, he claimed he was FBI, right? He claimed he was FBI, and he said that the FBI had found Richard, and that Richard was dead, and that it was a secret. You could take, and you could take down the flyers, which means that the search is over with. If you command that someone take down the flyers and that you are quiet, you're saying that the search is over. And and with his record, and then with his connection to Western Frontier Trading, which was bidding $3 million of ammunition to the El Paso Police Department, and with the alleged connections to the Hart family um, in that business. They've really been trying to, um, they delete all this stuff. It's like Jules Tuganon Chan. One day everything's up, and thank God I just all saved it. And then the next day, as soon as he finds out that you're looking into him, he wipes everything clean, right? So this is kind of what's happened with the Hearts, and then they'll repost it up, because I have the old um, Dallas Hart uh, LinkedIn, right? It was different, and then they redrafted it or something to put it up or whatever. And they've been trying to cover for him, but he was absolutely Richard's platoon leader. And with Nidal Baem in this European car business like Mercedes, that connects that more. And of course, with this Western Frontier Trading and other LLCs that are really, confirm everything. Uh, but the business, what we are being pointed to is that these businesses are red flags to the law enforcement and intelligence community for washing cartel money, for the laundering of that money. And that's why they should have absolutely done a full blown out investigation on him, instead of saying, oh, oh, he's a nobody. He's a nobody. When he was absolutely a huge somebody, a huge somebody. And so, this was a big deal. And that moved, I believe that is one of the reasons why they moved to redesignate Richard in November, um, um, to Dust One, CONUS Dust One, missing soldier, under the new Vanessa Guillen absent soldier flowchart. I think that this whole thing with Nidal Baem was really, really uh, the motivator, the driver of that. Um, the other, then, if that wasn't enough, then in January of 2022, um, and don't forget that Nidal Baem absolutely confirms that they found his remains, that they found our son's remains, right? And then we have other officials that have confirmed that and are witnesses to that. And to those admissions. And um, I just, with DES, Thomas Kane, and um, that makes me cry. And then if that all is not enough, um, you have Judge Roger Rodriguez filing his whistleblower complaint. And, they absolutely targeted, following that whistleblower complaint, they targeted him. They wanted to discredit him. And they came up with, one of the things that we discovered in all of that is Carlos Mendez. Carlos Mendez, and of course, we have the Jesus Melendez connection to Bliss Avenue. Um, but Carlos Mendez was never a veteran, and in um, the retaliation, um, and I think it was KTEP, right? KTEP from UTEP, with Angela Kachurga. Uh, the the article, really is using him as a veteran, right? And that's stolen valor because he never was a veteran. So not only did they use Leilani Hart as a unreliable source of fake, and she was named in his whistleblower complaint as tampering with Richard's file and a suspect in Richard's murder case. So, you know, um, having a fake, uh, unreliable source like Leilani Hart, and then on top of that, the most ridiculous story you've ever read, and then on top of that, using an individual to be a fake impersonating veteran, um, to retaliate against a judge, but a whistleblower judge, So they're not protecting their whistleblowers in El Paso, or on Fort Bliss, sorry. And yeah, it's almost 1 o'clock. Uh, we're burning the midnight oil, y'all. But, Carlos Mendez, clearly that was, and I haven't really talked about that so much, but he's a fake soldier, right? A fake veteran. And yeah, and I believe that is stolen valor. So, this whole thing with Nidal Baem, um, being a nobody, so he's a fake nobody because he is somebody. And then the stolen valor, the fake veteran, um, that really, what part is he playing, right? Because he's a computer person again. It's all these computer people like Michael Mayella Jr. and Dallas Hart and Carlos Mendez and Jonathan Ambrose. These are very handy computer people. And then, of course, when you're dealing with billions of dollars, you need apt computer people to launder the money and organize it and pay it out and whatever, and cover up the criminal activity. So, but I think that there's a lot of greased hands. This is what was told to me today. Greased hands. And I kind of like that. I said, yeah, these are very dirty, greased hands. And, being very close to many farmers in my life, maybe I don't like that saying after all, because, when you're a farmer, it's hard work. But when you are a trafficker, when you are part of a cartel group, it's not with that beautiful grease that, the old tell is you get a wound and you put some grease in it, right? So, but this is dirty. I think they're bloody hands, and it's money. It's money, and it's very dirty. It's very dirty. They're up to no good. They're up to no good. And to have someone that is, you know, what is his connection to Palestine, right? Nidal Baem's connection. I mean, he's Palestinian and he has an accent. That's how um, one of the ways we found him, and how we distinguished him from others, is this accent. And it was not, as a cashier said, it was not a Spanish accent. It was a foreign accent. And so that was one way that we found him. And yeah, so he was shocked that we called him and we found out who he was, and to look at his record and to look at his taxis that he owns, and all the stuff that goes along in his connections to uh, Richard's command and his connections to others that are really up to no good. And they should have absolutely responded to us, and no, they lied to our face. And this uh, is that called a fake general, a fake CID agent? I don't know. Are they just in bad conduct, right? So if Tavita Nusa lost his badge because he's in bad conduct, and he was in bad conduct, and he lost his badge, should these generals also lose their uniform and stars because of bad conduct? I believe so. And so that means, can these judges that are in bad conduct lose their robe, lose their bench, right? Lose their bench. I believe so too. You cannot be in bad conduct and be in these positions of honor, right? Of great trust, of many tools that we've entrusted to them. It's great power to be a general, to be a CID agent with a badge, to be a judge sitting on a bench. There's a lot of honor there. That's why we call them your honor or general. We show them a lot of respect. But when they are in bad conduct, they need to be removed because they are just dirtying up our beautiful uniforms, our beautiful stars, our beautiful benches, because these benches of law and order are so, so important for a civilized society and a safe society. And how they sealed the case, they uh, protected the criminal activity. That's in bad conduct. And right now, what Trump is exposing with this uh, group, this gang group that really is up to no good all the time, is he's exposing that these judges, that there are judges that have bad conduct, and that bad conduct, um, that has to be addressed. And those judges have lost their privileges. They've lost their privileges. It's kind of like with children, if they're acting bad, then they don't get to do their favorite things, right? You have to say you have to sit in the corner, or you have to be on restriction, or in this case, when it harms so many people, they have to lose their bench. They have to lose uh, their uniform and their star. You can't. And this is so severe. This is so big. This makes the Iran Contra look like child's play. You're talking about billions of dollars of substances, equipment, weapons, ammunition, and hundreds of thousands of children. And And then, the sex cult on Fort Bliss, which we have gotten confirmed over and over again that there was a sex cult activity going on Fort Bliss. And of course, they use that to discredit, right? Discredit anybody on the base, and to control the leadership. So, but the emergency intake center that was built in the beginning of 2021, and there was a lot of these shelters, okay, a lot of these shelters, and we talked about the impersonating uh, charities, right? Impersonating charities, masquerading as charities, and they're really fronts to the trafficking. We've talked about that. But the emergency intake center is different because it was on Fort Bliss and it sucked up a lot of childcare workers um, all around the area, and you know why? You know why it did? Because it could house 10,000 children at one time. That's how big this emergency intake center was. Operating for over 2 years, 10,000 children at a time. Hundreds of thousands of children were processed through Fort Bliss on taxpayer dime. On taxpayer dime. And I just saw um, Doge cleaning up NASA, which is a great, it's a thrill because oh my gosh, that's a whole nother thing. But of course, this whole cleaning or dismantling the Department of Education, which was such a thrill to see. We've been waiting for that for a long, long time. I mean, for years and years and years. And we have to celebrate that. We have to celebrate because, we complained, oh, they're wasting our money. But now, finally, they're starting to expose the waste and they're starting to turn off the spigot. That spigot is money from you and me. It's from taxpayers' money. And it's just like with Patrick Crusius. Uh, why were taxpayers, federal and state, right, on the hook for millions and millions of dollars for his defense? When he comes from a pretty well-to-do family, they're not poor at all. But yet, on the application form, it's 000, 000 for appointed counsel. That wasn't true, and it got approved. It got approved. This was such a orchestrated money grab, and also, I just posted up a really good explanation on the timeline of Richard's case, where he was reporting, he was um, getting institutional support. They were investigating and auditing there on Fort Bliss, and that was the Trump administration, 45, the first Trump administration, and then the Walmart mass shooting happened, and it put everything in disarray. And of course, then the closures, the mandates, the 6 feet apart, the wearing a mask, and all that came into play. And Richard became the target, right? Richard became the target. And of course, they abused their power. They went into bad conduct, right? They went into bad conduct against a whistleblower. And he came out squeaky clean, and they just couldn't. It became personal to them, and they had to murder him. This is, uh, you know, the Biden time period. Lived through it day in and day out. They absolutely did whatever they could, and we worked and we still are, tails off to move the ball forward, because they did whatever they could to try to cover this up. And now on January 24th, 2025, this was pointed out to us in the last couple of days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Just 4 days, it's been just a whirlwind. Just 4 days after Trump took office, all of a sudden they declare Richard in the line of duty, which is very, very important legally. And it's important legally to them to cover them up and put them in a cozier spot legally. Um, um, it's kind of like putting a band-aid on a wound or something. But it's also good for us too because they just admitted that Richard is a whistleblower. Because what else is he? He didn't die, in the working on something in the motor pool or, uh, you know, whatever in the line of duty. Um, they just they just told you. They just admit it, and that's been long coming. They had to admit we have it all. We have it all documented that he's a whistleblower, and but they've never told the public that he was a whistleblower that was targeted and attacked and murdered, right? And that Fort Bliss and the leadership failed to protect him, failed to protect him. So this is really important, and it comes 4 days after President Trump takes office, which is, come on, yeah, that you have to be really, I don't know, of course, right, of course. And now number 47, the new sheriff's in town. This is Trump's second um, uh, administration, and he's seasoned now. He's a seasoned politician. He's a seasoned president now, and it's just amazing what's happening. And if he can, um, and if anyone can do it, he can do it. Is uh, make these judges that are in bad conduct lose their bench. Wowzer, wowzer, wowzer. And I think that, uh, especially Judge Guadarrama, he is, our word is that Veronica Escobar's husband lost his position. Um, but yeah, it seems that Judge Guadarrama has, some worrying to do because he is in bad conduct. He's absolutely in bad conduct. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Olga, for your support and for coming on. And day after day after day, day after day, and so late, we just really love you for that. And it just can't be helped. I'll just try to come on a little bit earlier all the time. But we are getting a lot of calls, a lot of witnesses, a lot of letters, it's a lot is happening behind the scenes. And so we just want to thank you so much. And please share. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.